Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. This is Gwen. If you are new, welcome. I hope you guys enjoy this video. I will be sharing some very simple DIYs using mostly Dollar Tree supplies. Let's get crafting. First up, I am taking a wood blank as well as a garland, some stickers, and rub-on transfers, as well as some paints to use for this first DIY. I am going to separate the watering cans that came on this garland from Dollar Tree. I will also be reusing those green beads later on. First thing I wanted to do is to fill the holes on the watering cans using some Dollar Tree spackle. This is optional, but I wanted just to fill in those holes. Next up, I will be taking this Home Decor brand paint in the color Fiddle Green, I believe, and just painting a stripe across this wood blank. Now this wood blank is like a shiplap style or a plank style where they have indentations. So I just painted the center part green, and it has like the little indents in between each of those stripings. So here I'm just doing a dry fit of all of the watering cans just to see how I wanted to position them. Next thing I'll be doing is painting these watering cans in various colors. And this is I believe it's warm beige. And I'm using King's Gold. I believe I used daffodil yellow and true beige, if I'm not mistaken. So once that part was complete, I went ahead and took a chip brush and did a dry brush finish over the entire piece using some white chalk paint, just to add a little distressed look to this piece. Next, I was trying to arrange my pieces. I wanted to make sure that the colors were alternating. So I did position it in this manner. But before attaching anything, I went ahead and took some of those letter stickers and just spelled out the word garden, and the amount of watering cans that came in that pack was perfect for the letters to spell out garden. Next, I took this very cute rub-on transfer. It's in the succulents and cactus design, and just rub those on to the watering cans just to add a little cuteness to it. And this will be a garden sign, as you can tell. So I wanted to keep with that theme just by adding those cute rub-on transfers. Next, I wanted to add more wording to this, just spelling out welcome to my, and I just took more rub-on transfers from the Dollar Tree, and these are just all varying sizes of lettering, as well as a pack of rub-on transfers where it already had the word welcome on it. And I'm just arranging all of my letters and designs just to see how I wanted it to look, and then went ahead and burnished that on to my wood piece. And this DIY is super easy to do. It's very customizable. You can change out the colors to fit your style. And Dollar Tree carries so many types of stickers and transfers nowadays that it's easy to just find something that suits your own aesthetic. So I just went with this garden theme. I thought that it was cute. I don't make a whole lot of garden type decor, but I wanted to use up this really cute watering can garland that I picked up. So I thought this was a perfect DIY to do that with. So I'm just hot gluing all the pieces down to my wood. And next I wanted to add those green beads to my jute twine hanger. Nothing here goes to waste, and this here is the finished look. I think it looks adorable, If this isn't your type of color scheme, you can definitely switch it up. Give me a thumbs up if you guys like this DIY. I think it came out super cute. Moving on to project number 2. I am reusing these wood crates that I used for a different project, as well as this plaque that came from the Dollar Tree, some pool noodles that I'm using in place of some floral foam, some cute florals also from the Dollar Tree, and the wood crates were already painted white since I did use them from a previous DIY. Normally they come in a natural unfinished wood color, but you can stain them or paint them any color that you'd like. So the next step is to attach these 2 wood crates together, and just using a combination of hot glue as well as Titebond glue. I am just attaching those, adding some pressure to it. You can use some clamps or just apply pressure as needed to make sure that you have good adhesion. Next, I did have to attach this wood sign or plaque to the back side of my wood crates. And this just says welcome. Dollar Tree carries different ones with different types of wordings, but I thought this was really cute to use for this little planter box, if you will. And the hot glue and that Titebond glue actually worked really good. If you just use hot glue, I think it would do the job. It might not last very long, but it would definitely do the trick. So I'm taking this floral bouquet. It's called rosemary, is what it says on the label. And just taking those apart, just cutting off the pieces into small pieces. It's always a good idea to separate your florals just so you can have a better way of arranging your floral arrangement. You can, vary up the sizes and heights by cutting them into individual pieces and play around with the positioning a lot better than if you were just to leave them as a whole bunch. Now, to add flowers to the center, you'd want to pick a shorter type of flower or some type of stems because you don't want to cover the wording on that plaque. So here I really had to be methodical with how I cut my pieces and place them because a lot of times they were standing up a little too high and it was, concealing the sign, and I didn't want that to happen. So I had to keep cutting them down just to make sure that the sign was still visible. So if you wanted to use like leaves or just some type of greenery to it in place of like any type of flowers, that would be an option as well. So as you can see, there's a seam running down where the 2 wood crates connect, and we will be addressing that later on in the video. But first, I wanted to go ahead and fill in the spaces inside of this floral planter box using some of the Excelsior moss, also from the Dollar Tree. Next up, I did want to give this an aged look. I thought it looked a little too new for my taste. So using some dark and decrepit dust, I'm using a brush to just brush that onto the edges and some parts in the middle, just giving it a more aged and vintage look. And this DIY and decrepit dust is super fun to play with, and it really does give the effect that I like, when it comes to giving my projects an aged or distressed finish. So if you haven't tried this product, I'd highly recommend it. So you're basically just taking a dry brush and just brushing that onto the areas that you want to look old. And then you're going to just brush it in or wipe it back using the same brush. And then it just stays on. And I've mentioned it before in my other DIYs that I really do enjoy using this particular product when it comes to giving my pieces that aged and vintage look. Next, it was time to fill in the gaps in between the crates. So I took some spackling and just filled in the gaps and painted over it in the areas that needed a little touching up. That about does it for this DIY. I think it came out super adorable, perfect for your shelves or table, and I hope you guys liked it. Moving on to project number 3. We are taking 2 of these signs that came from Dollar Tree. They're the farmhouse signs with the galvanized metal animals in the middle. So I'm only going to be utilizing one of those animals. You'll see which one I end up choosing. So you'll want to first dismantle the signs. All the pieces will be reused, or at least most of it will. But anything you don't use for this DIY, you'll want to save for any future projects. It's always good to keep those pieces on hand. Trust me, they come in handy. So rather than using the side that's all messed up, I just turned it over and just used the back side since it's all nice and clean and it's a clean slate. I'm just taking a Sharpie marker and just drawing in some lines to create a faux shiplap look. So as you can see on the right side, it looks very messy where the paper was torn, but we're not going to care about that right now because we're not using that side, but later on I will be covering that. Taking some of the sandstone chalk paint, I will be just giving these 2 pieces a rough coat, and taking a spackling knife, I'm just going to rub off the paint or some of the paint while the paint is wet. And when everything was dry, I'm going to paint distress these pieces using some white chalk paint with my chip brush. Now, since I did cover up the majority of those lines that I created in the beginning, I am drawing them back on using that same Sharpie marker. Now, using my favorite product, I'm taking that dark and decrepit dust and just giving each of these picket fence pieces a aged and distressed finish. I'm just doing the same thing as I did in the previous DIY, taking a dry brush, brushing on some of that dark and decrepit dust, and then brushing it back. You can see here what I'm doing. It's really satisfying to do this because you get like an instant result, and it really leaves the project looking cute in my opinion. So we're going to take the piece and turn it over. We're going to attach these 2 to create a bigger sign, just reusing those pieces that we removed from the front and just hot gluing them to connect each piece together. So next up, I was deciding on which of these farm animals to reuse. I went ahead and went with the chicken. And I'm also using a garland. It's a leaf garland from Dollar Tree. I decided to use this particular leaf. And I essentially wanted to create a wreath. But before moving on to that step, I did take some of this Dollar Tree farmhouse fabric and tore a piece off and just created a simple ribbon, which we will be attaching later on. Moving back to that centerpiece, I decided to do a dry brush technique to the galvanized chicken just to make it stand out a little bit more. And with the garland, I went ahead and cut it down to the size I needed to create a perfect circle for my wreath. And this will be the focal point to this project. So I decided to take some cardboard pieces and just cut 3 pieces and glue them to each other. I essentially wanted to create more of a 3D look to that chicken or rooster, so that it would pop up and away from the board so it wouldn't just lay too flat where you couldn't see it. I took some of these stickers from Dollar Tree, spelled out the word welcome, and just laid my letters down across the board. Next, I went ahead and glued all my pieces down to the sign, just using some hot glue. I decided to glue down the leaves as well on the wreath to ensure that the leaves were facing the right side up, since these leaves have a tendency to want to flip over. And then I sealed off the entire piece using some Mod Podge for an extra added layer of protection to make sure my letters didn't peel off. I added a burlap ribbon with the lace design on it to the back of the fabric ribbon that I made just for that layered look, and I hot glued it to the corner of the wreath. I also added a burlap flower to the center of the ribbon just for the added decorative touch. And this is how it's looking so far. It's very cute, very farmhouse. The last thing I need to do is to add a hanger. Using the existing holes, I just threaded a white jute hanger or jute twine. This came from Hobby Lobby, and I just strung about 6 beads to this, and these are the larger beads. But you can choose however many beads that you want to use for your DIY, or you don't have to use beads if you don't want to. The last thing I did was covered up the back side using some craft paper and some hot glue, just to finish off the look and give this whole piece a clean, finished look. And that about does it for this last DIY of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed watching and got some great ideas. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I would love to have you as part of my YouTube family. Thank you so much to all my subscribers and my returning viewers. I appreciate each and every one of you, and I hope to see you in my next one. Thank you guys for watching. Take care.